We'll just wait a minute and see if anybody is coming on today. I'm going to be talking about consultations. Okay, hello. Don't worry if you can't stay on. We're just going to be, I've had so many messages in my inbox about consultations and disclaimers, so thought we'd have a bit of a business chat today and get you guys all sorted and clear of some facts and information really. I would say if you are staying on, big disclaimer from me right now, this is in no way in replacement for any legal advice that you should take, and make sure you always cross-check and double-check again with the correct directgov.com. So here we are in Wales, so we're under directgov.wales. You guys, if you're in England, are gov.uk. So make sure that you are checking out the correct websites for your particular area. Hello guys. So I get asked about at the moment quite a lot. I've got to say I must have been asked about 11 times in like the last 48 hours about consultations. It's crazy. So obviously this going back to work is getting you guys all how cute is this filter, by the way? It's getting you guys thinking, I suppose, about sort of like the future and things like that. Now your educators normally should cover and tell you what to expect and what's required of you, and it is also, as a self-employed person's job, which you probably all are, is to make sure that you go away and you learn all of these laws and legislations of the land so that you can work correctly and safely. One of them by law is that we have to perform a consultation with our client, and it has to be recorded if there's any contraindications that occur. Now if you've not sat your course yet, a contraindication is a problem. It's a problem that's there already that might stop us or completely, or just slow us down, maybe prevent us from performing that service. So say somebody's got a fungal nail infection, you know, it's going to stop us from being able to do their nails. So that's a contraindication that the client might walk in with. Or maybe she's got an open wart on her hand. You know, that's a virus that's highly contagious. It might stop us from being able to perform the treatment on the client. So because of these, or often these things that come into salon, there's some that are more regular than others, and some of them need to be on our disclaimers. So I think it's really important that you guys are aware that, you know, if these big companies, and I use this one because this is in my hand right now, this is a full consultation form that is required by law. It's also required by backup from the company. The manufacturers request you to do this as a trained extensionist, but this big grey box here is called a disclaimer. It is bulletproof. If your client signs that, then basically Beautyworks have got themselves covered well and truly, right? I will add. And if the big companies are doing it, hey, we follow suit. We're little guys, but if the big companies are doing it, let's do it. So I want to talk to you guys about disclaimers, and this is when I sort of had this realization, well, if the big people are doing it, and I often teach my own staff here as well to upsell all the time, you know, some people are a little bit scared of making a sale, you know, I don't really sort of want to, it's cheeky, I feel cheeky sort of saying to the customer, you know, oh, do you want nail art today, or do you want a few crystals added, because if that bumps your bill up, it's going to earn more money for you. But let me ask you a question. When you go through that McDonald's drive-through and they say, sorry, is that a large? Do you think, you cheeky bugger, fancy asking me if I want a large? No, you don't. It doesn't even enter your head. You'll either say, yeah, please, or no, just a regular, thanks. You don't even think about it, do you? So your customer sat in that chair when you go, do you want some crystals on today? She'll either say yes or no. She's not going to think, cheeky cow, I'm not coming back to her again. So don't be afraid of upselling. This is how we're going to bump our bill up. So you're going to take a set of nails that might be a £25 set of nails. You're going to turn it into a £35 set of nails by adding in these little extras. That's an extra £10 in your pocket. So make sure you're upselling, guys. It's really important. So back to consultations, because I do like to go off on a tangent, don't I? You guys that have sat the courses with me, oh, here she goes, she's on a rant again. So, right, consultation forms are required by law. for a number of reasons, but there are some things that I would say, it's a bit too much, let's not cross that line. Now, it's important to let the customer know that we're not just being nosy when we ask certain questions. So if the client's looking a little bit skeptical or dubious, I will reassure the client always and say, you know, this is so that I can provide you with the best treatment and the best health and safety possible by myself. And straight away, she's not going to bat an eyelid. Some of these things as well that are on our consultation forms are really important that we try to understand that client. I did a live the other day and I brought up fibromyalgia. It's a big thing now. Loads of people are diagnosed with fibro, and it's really important for you guys to understand, and if this won't be on any kind of nail course that you ever sit, but it's so important that you understand what it is that you're dealing with. These are things that we come face to face with as a technician, and if we're not aware with what we're dealing with, how can we provide a correct service? So we need to constantly be upskilling and upping our knowledge all the time. So fibro is definitely one to watch for. So fibromyalgia, just to recap, it's actually a thing that affects the nervous system. It's a disorder that affects the nervous system. It can cause chronic pain in a client. So she might have flare-ups. She might not have it all of the time as well. That's the other thing to remember. But it's well worth having sometimes on your consultation form. You know, do they have fibromyalgia? Because if she does, then certain times you might be required to lengthen your nail time from, say, like an hour to add in an extra 20 minutes so that you can slow down and be a bit more gentle. Because I know for me, I can be really quick, like session style hour nails, and I am really, really rough, right? You'll be lucky if I don't break your finger when you come in. No, I'm joking. But, you know, I will be battering away. My client's absolutely oblivious if she's not told me on her consultation form that I do need to be careful. So that's what our consultation forms are there, and we do need to be aware of it. So fibro, be careful if you're e-file trained that you've got a decent e-file. If it's got a heavy vibration, that's going to go right up that client's arm, especially on her thumbs. On e-file, the tendons actually stop at the wrist from your fingers, but on your thumb, the tendon comes up here. So that's why, try it on yourself if you don't believe me, but that's why when you are e-filing, you will feel that vibration coming all the way up. Your thumbs will always feel that little bit more, ooh, yeah, we're e-filing on a thumb right there. So somebody with fibromyalgia, it will trigger off their nerves, and unfortunately, it can be very, very painful. It can feel like you've just took a pneumatic drill on that person's hand, so you do need to stop and slow down with what you're doing. So definitely sort of check with your clients with these kind of illnesses and disorders. So with your consultation forms, the whole point of a consultation is that we are basically trying to find out exactly what our client's requirements are. And also we want to know what that client's history is. And that is really important. That client's history is going to tell us an awful lot. So say she comes in and she's had acrylics her entire nail life. And now she's coming to you and she's going, oh, that person's damaged my nails with acrylics. You'll hear this a lot. That person's damaged my nails with acrylics. I want gel on, I need to have a break. I can tell you now, if you got dropped from acrylic down to gel, then wow, you're not gonna know what's hit you. She'll have been so used to that reinforcement of solid nails. Acrylic is the strongest nail enhancement on the current market today. If she drops down to a soft gel resin like polish, then I'm sorry, but it's gonna give her no reinforcement at all. For somebody like me who is an acrylic client, for me to drop down to gel, I guarantee they'd be off within 24 hours. That's gonna lead to future complaints, and that client might not ever have nails again. You could completely put her off. So us being able to give the correct advice based on that client's experience as well. So when somebody comes in and they say something like that to me, I know that I need to draw out and cause more of a conversation on what basically she's had as an experience that she's saying is bad. Now, the other thing that's not taught regularly on a lot of courses in general, nail courses, is about the code of ethics. Now, if you were college trained, you'll hear that terminology, the code of ethics and salon ethics, all the time. You're really heavily trained in it. And basically there's this unspoken rule book that we don't do. And one of the really important things on that is that we do not ever slag off or call another nail technician. Don't ever presume that your client is giving you all all of the aspects, you know. I know from personal experience that clients have come into me and then they've gone down the road and they've probably told down the road that they've had a horrendous experience here at my salon, when actually that client's been a nightmare client and I've done everything I can to cover my back. So you're never going to stop that client. You're not going to please everybody. So rule number one, we don't call any other technicians. Always bear that in mind. Put yourself in that technician's shoes. So we do have to dodge some bullets here and there with some of these negative conversations. So it's important that we don't get caught up in those types of conversations, but we take away the important detail of the fact that she's obviously had acrylics, it hasn't worked for her. Maybe it was the system that technician's used. Maybe that technician was having a bad day. Maybe that technician has been mixing her systems. Maybe that technician simply isn't trained to a high standard. There are lots of online courses, and I do online courses, but all of ours are live and they're to the highest standard I've ever known. Teaching for Glitterbels, absolutely incredible. Can't recommend their courses enough, and I wish I'd have had the opportunity to train with a company like this back in the day. Saved me 2 years in college, my word. And literally I've been doing nails for 20 years now, and there's not a day goes by that I do a set of nails where I don't learn something. So it's a continual learning curve with nails. It's good fun, isn't it? I told you I go off on rants, don't I, all the time? So yeah, don't call those other clients, don't call those other technicians if a client comes to you, rule number one. Then your client's going to say to you, like, okay, so she's had acrylic, she's had a bad experience, and unfortunately there is a terminology that it's the fool, not the tool. And I love that, don't you? Annabelle actually put that in her course. I absolutely love it. Cheers, Annabelle. So the fool, not the tool, and it is so true. So the fact is that client, that technician has probably got it wrong somewhere, but hey, we can do better. So we now need to talk our clients basically into the fact that we do things slightly different here. Why don't you try my method, you know, and definitely sort of go down that route of taking your client through trying again one last time with acrylics. You know, if that still doesn't work for her, I would drop her down gradually to gel polish, so through a builder gel with gel colour on top, and then slowly into gel polish. But it's important that we do make that transition nice and slowly. I'm just trying to check all these like comments popping up. I can't see it all. We do learn every single day. You're starting on Sunday with Sarah. You'll absolutely love it. She's amazing. 100% love college. Glitterbels training. Yeah, absolutely. Glitterbels training is amazing. Took myself to college for my level 2. Yeah, it's, do you know what, I've got to say, looking back at what I took from college, I kind of walked out with quite a lot of health and safety, but I've learned more through my becoming an educator and having to research some of the knowledge. I mean, things have come on a long time. I qualified 15 years ago in college, and the things that we know now, we didn't know back then. So I can't really speak negatively of my training as such from college. It did take me 2 years, and we covered everything, including fiberglass extensions, which aren't really a big thing anymore. But I got trained up in everything in one go, so it was lovely, and I made some long-lasting friends through college. But you know, like I say, we just want to get stuck in and get on with it, don't we, girls? You know, so the fact that I've got to spend 2 years in college, no thank you. I'll do a Glitterbels course, because my educators are going to flipping push me right up there, and I guarantee I do not pass my ladies off until they hit that salon standard. And I will say to you, that is a salon standard set of nails right there, because I see it all the time. I've got a big nail team here, so it's definitely worth doing. Level 3, definitely go on to do your level 3. It's absolutely worth it. They've split it now. So when I was in college, you just sat level 2. There was no level 3 nail technology. So now, I think I was that last year, and then now they split it so that you have to do 2 separate MVQs to learn what I learned on the one. So it's a little bit crazy, isn't it now? So back to consultations. So there are laws in place, and one of them is data protection. So it's really important that if you're going to take paper copies, you have to provide data protection for your client. And this is really important. If you are absolutely adamant that your client fills in every little bit of this form right here, name, date of birth, blood type, What else do you want to know? It's all on here. But if you take all of that, then you've got to prove to the government that you're storing that data correctly, which means normally in a locked safe or some kind of a locked cabinet. You have to prove it. So you will have to send photographic evidence of how you store your papers, and that takes a lot of effort and a lot of time. Can you be bothered? I can't. So less is more, guys. Take as little as possible down. So what we want is we want the client's name. You don't want to be calling her oi, you next. No. We need to call her by her name, don't we? So we need her name, we need her contact number, because if Mrs. Jones is gonna pull a no-show at the salon, I'm gonna be phoning her going, excuse me, you were meant to be here 10 minutes ago. Excuse me, just so you know, I'll require a deposit next time. So we want the contact number. You also want a contact number because if you were to phone in sick, hopefully not with the Rona, but if you were to phone in sick, then unfortunately you are going to have to contact your list of clients for the day. Don't ever pull a fast one and not contact your clients. You will lose them. They won't ever come back. So make sure you do phone your clients up and you say, listen, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm too poorly to come to work today. Or get somebody to do it on your behalf. But make sure that you do let your clients know if you can't attend. Hence why we need a contact number. Email addresses are fantastic because emails are completely free. So if you want to do any future marketing, if you want to do any promotions, if you've got a quiet month coming up or you want to put an offer on, emails are fantastic for that. And nowadays people are using emails more and more and more. So I get more response from my email marketing now than we ever did. So it's definitely worth taking emails down. It is definitely worth recognising that you do have to, if you're storing paper, you do have to go on to data protection and see whether or not you are storing enough information on that person that you might have to register for Data Protection Act. So do double check that on your directgov.com. So once we've got those details, the rest of it is all about the client's history. So we need to know that medical history as well. And one of the first things that's really important on our list is about diabetes. Diabetes is a big issue for nail techs. It's a big issue because if we're not careful, we could cost that person a limb. Right, so I'm not exaggerating here. If you cause an infection on somebody that's diabetic, then unfortunately that can lead to an infection. And if they are quite susceptible, which they are normally with certain types of diabetes, then unfortunately that infection is not treatable by antibiotics. And if it does get to the point that that person, after years and years of suffering with diabetes, they don't respond to that antibiotics, that infection can lead to them basically losing a toe or even a leg. And I don't ever want to be responsible for that. I don't know about you guys. So being aware whether your client is diabetic is quite important. And it doesn't completely stop. It is a contraindication. It doesn't stop us from doing the work. It's just a warning flag, and it tells us that, and this is something I've not been told in college. Yeah, I wasn't either. In fact, you know what I was taught in college? It's a contraindication. You should never work on somebody with diabetes, right? Until I met an educator who taught me who was diabetic. Oh my goodness. So in class she said, so how would you treat a diabetic? I went, I won't touch him with a barge pole. Could I have been any more rude? Could I have been any more ignorant? But I hadn't been taught. And she taught me and she said, absolutely not. You would never say that to a client. You would never ever dream of even thinking that. Why? Nowadays it's called discrimination. Why would you not treat somebody because of a disability or something that they can't control? Now they can't control that they're diabetic, but I'll tell you what, they know they're diabetic, so why are you ashamed of asking it? Don't be scared of asking the question. You know, they know, and the fact that you're taking an interest in them as well is another thing that's actually quite a professional level. So we want to be saying to these people, you know, on our consultation form, oh, I can see that you've just ticked the box here, you suffer with diabetes, so I'm just going to let you know that I'm going to switch up your treatment today. I'm going to slow down and provide more time. That's key number one. And the next thing is to make sure that all of our tools are fully sterilised. Do not ever use a tool that's not been sterilised on somebody who's got diabetes. The other thing as well is I would lay back a little bit on the prep. Okay, so the reason that we're going to slow down is because we are going to be really taking our time around the cuticle area. and those side walls. Those areas where we can snag the skin and cause cuts. Are we going to do cuticle nipping? Absolutely not. We don't want to do anything that's going to cause an infection. We don't want to break the skin in any way. So we're going to slow down and concentrate on what we're going to do. But yes, we can provide nail enhancements and nail treatments for clients with diabetes. The more often than not, they're aware themselves. So just having an open conversation with the client, has she ever had any problems in the past? Things like that, they're really important. Opening up that personal conversation with that client with diabetes, it will change your relationship with your client. Your client will go, never had that from another nail technician, and I guarantee you she's going to go away and tell people, because do you know what, they're in the clinics getting the blood tests all the time. We know lots of people. I've got several people in my life with diabetes and they all know one another. It's crazy. And I don't know if it's because they all end up meeting up somewhere at like the clinics. They see each other regularly, so like, oh yeah, I know you. Who knows, but they seem to know one another anyway. But it's quite interesting to get talking to them because they know full well what the risks are. They've come to you because they want nice nails. Why would you deny them of that? A lady came to me because she had bad ridges due to eczema. She had oh, bless her. See, this is what I mean. We don't want to be turning clients away. There's always an option, and as a professional, you will find a way to fit that client in. So that client might not, and do you know what? When they cry, when they get upset, you're like, oh, wow, I've done that for somebody. I've made them really happy, and it gives you that really warm, fuzzy feeling, doesn't it? And I love that. Like, my clients will come in and they're like this. They're ashamed. They don't want to show you their fingers because they're like a nail biter or something. And when they leave, they're like, oh, babe, okay, bye, and they're dead flat. It's really funny that, you know, you can provide that for your clients. I love it. So I'm just going to go into what we use. Now, we have been for ages. I've been open a long time now, but one of my first starting points was paper. We don't use that anymore. So what we do use is we went onto a software system that cost me about 8k, and it was insane, but it was too much and it was crashing all the time. And you're like, for that amount of money, now that's all right if you're a big salon, but what if you're on your own? What if you're just doing mobile? What if you're just starting? So you don't need that kind of stuff, do you? And even a salon now, my size of salon, does not need that kind of gear. So unless you're like a Tony and Guy and you just want to show off a little bit with some flash the cash, yeah, we don't need it. So let's have a look at what we can get. So there's a few companies online. There's Buxy. I am not in any way affiliated with any of these, but they damn well should pay me. They should pay me, shouldn't they? Endorsing their company. I'm not in any way endorsed by these companies. I have worked with these companies myself. I've trialed them out and I've found what works for me and I've found what doesn't. So you guys might be completely different. So this is just from my experience, what I've found. I'm actually just trying to find this app now because I've actually lost it on my iPad. My little girl keeps using this iPad and it's actually the salon's iPad. Right, so we went over to Buxy and it didn't do everything I needed. It's very basic. Now, if all you want is a diary and a text message to your client, then great. But we found Timely to be a lot better. Leon, could you grab me a glass of water, love? And I could do with an iPhone charger as well. Okay, right, so Timely. We've got two apps that come with Timely. You've got this little red one here, and then you've got, oh gosh, it's gone. Get back on. Where's it gone? Hold on. Okay, so we've got the red one, and then we've got the black one. So you get two apps with Timely. This is the cool bit. I get dead excited at it because it is the best thing I ever found, right? So Timely, it is a massive diary. You can set up multiple people on there. So if you are a salon owner, get on this because it's just wicked. But if you're single, it is cheaper. So go for it. You know, it's like 20 quid a month, I think it works out at, and it does everything for you. It's amazing. You can even keep your accounts on it. So if you've got an accountant as somebody self-employed, you can run everything through here. You email your PDF to your accountant every month. Bish bash, it's all done. It's 20 quid a month. No brainer. So with the Timely, we've got our diary app here. So you've got your full columns and your dates on there. It texts your clients. We've set ours to text 48 hours before appointments. I do recommend 48 hours instead of 24 hours because personally, I want to have plenty of time to contact several other people maybe on the waiting list, or it might even be that, sorry, let me just plug my charger in because my phone's on low. There we go. So we've got less time, haven't we? You know, if your client sort of like phones up and goes, I'm really sorry, I can't make my appointment, it gives you longer to fill that space. Whereas 24 hours sometimes, especially in your quieter months, you will struggle filling your gaps that with a little time. So you want to give yourself some breathing space. You want to give yourself breathing space to go, do you know what? I'm finding myself a little bit quiet at the minute. Maybe what can I do? You want to have that thinking time, don't you? So to be able to sort of like set that time aside and go, do you know what? I'm going to run out a marketing ploy. I'm going to tag on my emails. This keeps your client emails, gives you a marketing option. You can click on it. You can send out some stuff that's all pre-done, like Valentine's Day. You know, you can send them out at the start of Feb for Valentine's Day. You can send it out for client. It picks up client birthdays if you want to store all that information, but it stores it all for you and it's completely safe under lock and key. So you register with data protection. You click no paper, because we don't keep any paper, it's all electronic and it's under lock and key. So it will ask you who your provider is, you pop that in, it is so easy and there's no paper storage for us personally. So this is wicked. The other good thing that comes with Timely is the other app. Okay, so the other app is called Consult, and there's other companies now started to bring theirs out, but this thing poo-poos over all of the others. It's wicked. So on here, we have got a multi-purpose salon here. So I have got hairdressers because I'm trained in everything. So I'm level 3 hairdresser, I'm semi-permanent makeup trained, so I'm a tattooist as well as a nail technician. I do absolutely everything. And that's more, I did all of that so that I could manage my salon better. I found it easier because I understood everybody then and what their needs were. So I look after my staff, hopefully. If any of you are on here, I'm watching you lot. So yeah, we've got loads of staff here. We've got hairdressers, lash techs, beauty therapists. We've got all sorts that work here. They are all sorts. They're an all sorts bunch. But we've basically got disclaimers for everything and consultation forms all set up. One of the ones that is really important to be aware of is the COVID policies in your area. So for us here in Wales, it was mandatory that we had to do COVID track and trace forms when somebody was entering our premises. So if you are stuck at home, which you probably are if you're mobile at the minute, they did eradicate mobile, didn't they? So they did say last year. How weird is that, saying last year? So last year they said that anybody working mobile had to have like a stationary point where they worked at, and it just meant that they weren't allowed to travel. So you couldn't go from house to house. You had to have somewhere that you could keep sanitary and everybody had to come to you so that you as a professional were in full control of your environment. So, and I quite like that. I think that was a good ploy from the government. I know it might have been a little bit awkward for some, but I think it was a good way of keeping everybody safe, because I think we can keep an environment clean. But when I used to do mobile, some of the houses I went to weren't very clean. I'm not gonna lie. And you can't help but notice, because if you are used to working in quite high hygienic standards, when you're going in some places like some kitchens, I was like, I don't want to be here. So yeah, I was kind of happy that they did bring that out. Your nail room was my dining room. Oh, bless you. Well, hopefully they'll let us go back to work soon and it may well be your nail room again. But basically you will have to have and run your own track and trace form. So it's really important that you are aware of what the government are asking of you. So it does pop up straight away on the computer screen when I click on it. So if I click on what I want, hold on, COVID-19, it'll come up and say, is it a new client or is it a client that's actually booked in on the screen? So if it is a client, say it's Mrs. Jones is already booked in, she's got a full client record card. If you just put Mrs. Jones in there, it'll bring up the list of Mrs. Joneses. You select the right one and it automatically fills in all the form. So all your client has to do is put her signature at the bottom. That's it. This is why it's amazing. Because it literally does it all for you. So you don't want your client having to sit there as well, because some people are really like they're what would the word be? Like they're like, I don't know. They don't do well with computers, do they? What is even the word? I don't even know what the word is. Pop it in the comments because I don't even know. But if it's a new client, we're going to click new client, and the client now will tap on the areas and she can type in her answers. So for us, it was like we weren't allowed to travel outside of the county, and we weren't allowed to see to anybody from outside the county. And some people were the government did want to want to see proof that we were checking up on people. So we did have to put on here, can you confirm you are from the Conway area? That's how I sort of visualise it speaking anyway. So they would click yes or no, and then they would sign at the bottom in the red box, sign your life away in the big red box and date it. Click complete. That uploads straight away as a PDF to the other app, and it links it to the client record card. If that client ever comes back with any issue, we can email straight away a copy of her PDF. This is where things get interesting. So, where the fact that we've got access to these client consultation forms now, and we can shoot you a PDF, Mrs. Jones, who is, you know, this is my proverbial Mrs. Jones. I know a lot of Joneses, and you're all absolutely lovely. However, this particular Mrs. Jones is not. So this awkward Mrs. Jones is going to come in the salon, or even in your workplace, and she's going to be complaining. She's going on holiday next week, right? And she wants a free set of nails, so she's going to try it on. So she's going to come in, she's going to get a set of nails done, and then she's going to find some way of causing a complaint so she can get her money back. So do you also know that she doesn't have to have her money back? You're in the trade now, girls. This is the trade industry. They have to, by law, give us the opportunity to fix it. So if it's faulty work, if it's genuinely faulty work, that client's going to give you the opportunity to fix that. Don't be giving no money back straight away. Keep that in your pocket. It's cost you time and money to do it. Obviously, you know, if you think you can win that client round by doing a freebie or giving her a refund, but a lot of the time, if they're willing to sort of like come back to you and they want to be a regular client, they're going to want the nails, not the money back. So, you know, be aware of that when you're. I rant about that a lot. A lot. So basically, let's go into our nail consultation. Bear with me. Right, so I've got one for nails here, and I want to tell you what's on our disclaimer because it's quite amusing, and I love what I've put on my disclaimer already. Right, so we've got a new client here. So on the consultation form, I've got her name, email address and number. Those are the only things I want of her personal details. Don't need anything else. You can select date of birth optional so that I can send out, like, if you wanted to, it does it automatically, it puts that on there, but you can remove it off consult. You set these up yourself, these consultation forms. What nails are you having today? So she can click as multiple choice on there. Extensions, overlays, gel colour, gel toes, nail art, backfill, redesign, okay? So she can collect whatever she wants on there. Have you ever had an adverse reaction to nail products? That is one that we do need to know about. If she's had a reaction somewhere else, is she going to have a reaction with us? Did she find out what she'd had a reaction to? There are lots of different acrylates in the world, both. So there's loads of different acrylates, isn't there? And basically these acrylates are in gel polish also. So they're in a lot of things that we find, and people can be highly allergic to them. So that's on there. Are they on blood thinning medication? I want to know that before I go and do a Russian manicure or pedicure on you, if I've got to trim all your cuticles. Do you suffer with diabetes? Boom, we've already discussed that and we know why now. That is on there also. Disclaimer. Are you ready for this one? Have you got your pens to hand? I understand that cuticle work can result in slight nipping and blood spots because, hey, do you know what? We do, don't we? We do nip it by accident, and there's no way around it. You know, there's not a chance that 10 out of 10 clients, you're not going to cause a little blood spot somewhere, and that's why we have multiple metal tools so that we've got some for sterilising, things like that. But you know, irregularly it happens. You know, and don't think as well, one of the other things, if somebody's a nail biter and they've got really chunky cuticles, don't presume that they're nice and tough and you can saw away at them. No, you can't. In fact, actually they rip easier because they're so used to being bitten all the time. It's like scar tissue. It takes 6 months to become mature before it's fully knitted together and it's solid. So the fact that this is constantly being bitten back open means it's never fully healing. So it's actually easier to cut somebody who is a nail biter. Plus they always have like little cuts and abrasions there anyway. Here we go. Here's the next one. I have realistic expectations. The pictures brought in from Instagram and Pinterest are regularly edited. Yes, they are. There isn't a single photograph. Here you go. There isn't a single photograph on my wall, on my Instagram feed that hasn't been edited in some way. They've all had the lighting adjust, or they've all had the dust removed and airbrushed from the picture, because I don't like dust on there. It can take away from the actual design. So, you know, most artists will edit their pictures. If they tell you that they don't, they're lying, okay? And you're going to put your slogan on there as well, photographs edited. As soon as you add a layer to that photograph, it actually distorts and takes some of the pixels away. So we're I suppose removing some of the clarity there. So it's well worth looking into photography to get your photographs up to suit really with what Instagram standards need to be nowadays. Because people love all these nice pictures, don't they? But if the client comes in and she's got the idea that she's going to have a filter put on her hands, is she being realistic? Absolutely not. But if she wants to get funny about it, hey, I've got her signature and she's signed my disclaimer. Slight lifting is normal, okay? Normal. This stops the natural nail bed from damaging. If my client leaves and her nail pops off, that is a good thing. If she's gone down to one of those nail bars, and we all know the ones I'm talking about that open up and they're like a little conveyor belt. If she goes down to one of those nail bars and she bangs a nail, and you see the pictures, haven't we all seen the pictures, this bloody mess where this nail plate has just pinged clean off, right? That is because they've probably used something that they shouldn't have done on someone's natural nails. And I know that some of the ingredients that's in those is the same as what my husband, who is a builder, uses in cement, right? She needs to be glad that a nail has popped off and it's not ended up like these awful flipping pictures that we see all the time. So it's a good thing that your nail has lifted. We want it to lift, it causes less damage. However, what do we want her to do if she's had a lift? So this too is on my disclaimer because it's part of my aftercare. New customers, if lifting occurs, in the first few days post-application, I will give my technician the chance to repair and figure out my nail type. Right, this was put on my disclaimer. Now, I made up my disclaimer because basically it's like I've been doing this a long time and I've seen the type of complaints that come back. So one of the big ones is a new client turns up, brand new client, never done her nails before. Her nails might not be the same as Joe Blogs before her. So the fact is she's come in, maybe she's got really oily nail beds, maybe she's pregnant, maybe she's on medication, maybe she's got ridges, maybe it's hereditary. We don't know what's going on inside of that client. There could be so many reasons that client's nails lift, or maybe you've done really natural extensions, but that client goes back to work and she actually hits the gym up lifting weights 3 times a week and she needs a thicker acrylic. She's got to give you the chance to fix that. So you're trying to get to know that client personally. So if a new client sits in my chair, and my automatic response is, I'm going to get to know you, I'm going to get to know your nails as well. But you've got to give me the chance to get to know them. I don't get to know somebody overnight from 1 hour sitting in my chair. So make sure you're aware and you're having this conversation with your client quite openly. You can do it in a jesty manner, but it will sink in. Your client will remember that you've had that conversation with her. So she's got to give you the chance to fix it. Remember, I've just said you're in the trade. If something goes wrong, if that work is faulty, that client by law, and we're supported by the law, has to give you the chance to fix faulty work. We have to be given that opportunity. That's how we learn. That's how we put things straight. So make sure that I've got that on your disclaimer. So your client's got to give you that opportunity. Maybe she comes back, she's snapped 3. Okay, that's kind of like a warning sign. What do you do for a hobby? What's your lifestyle like? What do you do for a job? She's a gardener. Don't think women aren't mechanics. I've got loads of mechanics that come in the salon. These girls can go out and be so heavy-handed. Maybe she needs thicker acrylic applying. Build that apex skills, so it gives us a chance to get to know it, doesn't it? So the other one as well is, I promise I will not use nail glue to repair my nails between appointments. It is my pet peeve, and this is why it's on my disclaimer. This can cause fungal nail infections or pseudomonas, better known aka the greenie. How many of us hate greenies? I do, because in Manchester, greenies are bogies, guys. So, and I just say greenies, I'm like, no, can't cope with it at all. So we don't want those going on our clients' nails either, do we? This can cause fungal infections. If I do so, I accept the risks and I understand my nails may not be suitable for future work should an infection occur. Now, we added that on there because we had a client that came back and she'd been using these stick-on nails, you know, these press-ons. They're lush, don't get me wrong, but if you do not know how to apply them correctly, squeezing the air bubbles out of the glue, then unfortunately, if water gets underneath and it sits in that little pocket of air, you've got a perfect breeding ground. I'm talking bacteria are going to build a city in there. Woohoo! They're having a party on your nail, and that's going to go green, and that client's going to come back to you with greenies. Can we work on them? We might be able to if we can get it off, but not always. And that client, that particular client, had to be told that she could not have nails on, and she was raging, guys. She was fuming. So, you know, we put that in there now because then at least they're accepting that if you choose to not pay attention to the advice I'm giving you, you're causing it yourself. You will be told that we can't do your nails. That's in the disclaimer. And she now has to read that every time she comes in. She has to sign it. So there we go. There's that one as well. So I will follow any aftercare instructions of my nail technician. That is super important, because if your client goes away and she hasn't followed your aftercare, there's your get out clause right there. So, and your client has to sign and she has to date, and then we click complete, and where does this go? PDF attached straight to her client base on her client consultation form, goes to her client record card on timely. And if that person comes back with any complaint, I am going to say, just 1 second, and I'm going to go on here and I'm going to forward her a copy of her PDF signed with her signature, and I'm going to say, Mrs. Jones, if you would just refer to point 1 of the disclaimer in section A, blah blah blah, I think you'll find you've signed to acknowledge. Right, there we go. That is what we need a disclaimer for right there. And don't think you're not going to get people trying it on, because it does. It happens all the time. The other thing as well with nail glue, which not a lot of people realise, but it is water soluble. Over time it breaks down. That's why when we're sticking tips on, Annabella's made it so there's no wells in these tips, and I love that, because the tips used to dictate how far back the nail tip was set, and it was just all glue, and it's like, ugh, there's too much glue on there. Whereas these ones, you just put it on the rim and stick it on as little as possible that you can get away with to file it into a neat shape and blend it in. So do only put it on a little bit, allow that to grow off. I aim to stick mine on so that they're grown off by the first backfill. Done. There's nothing but acrylic adhered to that nail then. I don't have to worry about the glue breaking down. But that glue over time will soak down and it starts to break down, and that's why we get tips pinged off. Okay, so if you set your tips too far back and it's pinged off, sometimes it's because down the back, have you ever got that down the back where it's peeled away? It's broke down from water. Now this is what the clients don't realise. So when they're sticking their nails down as well, down the back with nail glue, water's going to get in there one way or another, even if they've stuck it solid. So hello, it's going to break down over time. There's a reason that we tell you not to do these things, and that is all on our disclaimer right there. So this is timely, guys. For anybody that's just jumped on, timely, and consult. You get the 2 apps in one for the money, and it's so worth it. That's what we use. That's what we've got on our disclaimer. I am going to save this video, so if anybody wants to watch it back and take notes, you're more than welcome. Let me just check some of these comments on here. It is timely and consult. Lady I work with in the chipping the same. Not my fault, didn't do them. I love that. Cans of pop, nightmare. Should be pinging her tips off all the time on cans of pops. I hate that. I hate the has everybody heard this phrase? It makes me gag, guys. Use them as jewels, not tools, or whatever it is. I'm like, it's so cringe. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I'm such a boy. I'm a real boy, and I'm like, I can't cope. It's well too nicey. That's how they snap, definitely. They're being put too far down the nail and the glue just doesn't adhere the same. Your primer is being chemically balanced to create the perfect adhesion for acrylic, not glue. So if the bulk of your nail coverage ends up being a tip, then you're only leaving a little gap at the back for your acrylic to stick to. Unfortunately, they're gonna pop off. If the acrylic that makes the nails last, putting the nail tip too low down just causes problems because there's not enough. Exactly, that is exactly it. Tony, Jessica, you are a superstar. You've got it in one. Okay, so hopefully you have had loads of information there today, guys. So I am going to end that there because I don't want to blag your heads a little bit too much. But I will be doing another one soon on business chat because I want to talk to you guys about client growth and client retention. The two get muddied a lot. People don't realise sometimes there's a difference. They just go, oh, I want to grow my client base. There's a big difference. I can tell you how to grow your client base, but can you keep those clients? Do you know how to? So client retention is just as important as client growth. So I want to be able for you to differentiate the two completely and what offers you could put on to get client growth and what offers to put on for client retention. So I will do that for you soon, guys, because that's another one that I do get asked a lot for. So if you want to see that video, make sure you drop me a comment on when this is posted, or drop me a message in my inbox if there's anything else that you want to know about. But I hope that's made sense and it's made things a little bit clearer when it comes to client consultation forms and disclaimers. Okay, guys, so I am out now because I am going to go home and cook my tribe a meal because, yeah, they've been homeless orphans all afternoon. I've been at the salon working, so hopefully I'll go home and they won't have trashed the place anyway. See you guys later.